Pennsylvania has some very limited opportunities for cross-systems training between corrections and the human service, social service system, but it's not nearly comprehensive enough. We really need to develop a program that will get the corrections staff familiar with us and familiar with how they need to prepare the individual for release, and have our folks more familiar with the correction system so they know what kind of problems they're going to be dealing with, both from a systems view and an individual view.
There's a wealth of information when it comes to people with disabilities. The question is, how do you take that wealth of information and educate prosecutors, defense attorneys, judges, and law enforcement officers so that everybody is on the same page, everybody understands whatever disability it might be and how it does have an impact on the criminal justice system, how it impacts on victims, on defendants. And the only way for that to take place is for a strong partnership to be established between those experts in the area of disabilities and the various components of the criminal justice system.
Judges are always interested in training and expanding our ability to do what is the right thing, and it would be extremely helpful if we had access to greater resources, and if there are existing resources that we're not aware of, certainly it would be extremely helpful if there were a manual or some type of guide that would assist us in dealing with a population that's particularly vulnerable, that is in need of services that the criminal justice system is unable to provide directly.
In imposing sentence, I consider the pre-sentence investigation, I consider your age, I consider the nature of this offense. I also consider the fact that you have some history of learning disabilities and perhaps some mental health issues, and I would hope that all of those will be addressed at any facility where I sentence you. It is a source of great frustration for me as a judge in criminal court that all of the parties in the courtroom can agree that a defendant has a particular diagnosis or need, but that the resources are not available in the community to provide treatment in a structured setting. This court is constrained, however, to follow the mandatory sentence. Therefore, you are sentenced to 2 to 4 years in a state correctional facility. It is my wish that you serve that sentence in a facility that would be appropriate for your age and also would be able to address both your educational and mental health needs. I would ask that a copy of the pre-sentence investigation as well as your school records be sent with you in a sealed envelope to the state correctional facility. You have 10 days.
In Pennsylvania, we do have some diversion programs for people with developmental disabilities to try and keep them out of the correctional system. They're frankly limited. I think they're best in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. We don't have enough of them in the rural parts of the state. We really could use a statewide diversion system for folks who are in danger of going to the correction system. Unfortunately, as in many other things, resources have really stopped us from doing that over the last several years. It would be a great addition to the system if we could create a diversion